we'll go from there. Who's got the first item?
I believe I do. So a topic that came up in the meeting that we had with Secure last week that Olivier was asking about, and I think David reiterated the importance of achieving parity here, is this ability to handle vulnerabilities differently when they have a remediation available. So if you look at this issue, this is, and it's, I wrote it a little intentionally open because I think there's some confirmation that needs to happen both on what's coded right now and what the expected behavior is. So that's incorporated here in the proposal. So confirm with Andy the expected behavior, because I think this is kind of news to everybody here. If anyone on this call had a understanding that we should be treating the issue creation, or sorry, treating the vulnerabilities differently based on whether they had a remediation or not, and going through a different path to be able to resolve with an MR, speak up now and help us help educate us. But the intention of this ticket is to, understand what the expected behavior is, what's already in place today, because it does look like there is some code in place to handle this situation. But from Alexander and I's digging, it was more of kind of a static message that was displaying back to the user. And Alexander had some other findings already, which is part of why he's assigned to this. So I've already assigned this to him and Jonathan. We pulled this into 13.0. Again, this is trying to achieve parity, and it's a late arriver in our milestone. So I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention.
I haven't gotten a chance to look at it much, but based off what Alexander's been saying and my understanding of the code bases, I would be surprised if the back end work isn't already available to make this happen on the front end, since it's already, the features in place. I'll take a look some more to make sure and confirm on that, and work with Alexander and if there's any additional work that needs to happen. But
awesome.
Hopefully that we already have the back end in place on that.
Yeah, I think just from my initial debug findings, it looks like the endpoints are there. Maybe the backend needs to send up a little bit more data in the object initially sent, but I think the endpoints are there, and I should be able to get started on this on the front end side.
I think we'll have to check on what happens when a merge request has already been created. What do we show in that button? Do we just remove that line from the list in that drop down, for that ability to create another merge request? So right now we have that, can only create one issue. But if you create a merge request, we still want them to have the ability to create an issue, so we don't want to remove the whole button. But we can talk that out more based on any investigation into what happens today.
And we can see what happens today by looking at the pipeline view, is something that Olivier has pointed out to us. So he's provided us, some test projects. Hopefully that information is all available in the issue at this point. If you're not finding it, let me know. It was kind of all over the place. So thank you, Alexander and Jonathan and Andy. I know that 13.0 is supposed to be a lot of like cleanup and debt resolution, but clearly we need to kind of prioritize this higher than that, because we don't want to take away functionality from our customers.
Would this hold us up from turning on the feature flag?
Question for Matt.
Yeah, I think I'd need to chat with a few folks internally first. I guess I was under the impression that not a whole lot of people would have been using it, since the scan types and the language types are very limited right now. But a comment from David was that there are some customers that depend on this, and this is a big feature for them. So I'd need to find out specifically whom and if this would be a big deal or not.
Okay. When's the cutoff for changes to be merged for 12 or 13.0?
So today's the 5th. Okay, the 22nd is a Friday. Of all, I feel like this should be a pop quiz, and I should be the person to be able to answer this with the most confidence. I am going to say, let's be safe and say that we want to get it merged by the 18th, just to avoid any of that confusion, which means that we'd want any MRs to start in the reviewer maintainer cycle early next week. And hopefully, to Jonathan's point, this is existing functionality. We've got endpoints available. I think a lot of this is just making sure that we understand the behavior correctly. So,
is there anything else before we go on to the next question, which this is related to? Anything else on this topic?
Oh, looks like Philippe is backing us off 3 days already.
Thanks,
In
Philippe,
the-
keeping us
in
honest.
the chat.
Yeah, so he's saying we have 17th in the calendar for the cutoff date, so Friday the 15th, which I don't think really changes that way too much. Sorry, Wayne, go ahead.
Oh, no. So is there anything else that would stop us from turning the feature flag, potentially, or actually stop us from turning the feature flag on? The reason I ask is I surely don't want to wait till the last day of the release. Nobody was planning to do that, to merge that. It is already, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, or things have changed, but because you worked on that one, is it's already maintainer approved. We asked them not to merge it by intent.
It is already maintainer approved. I think I'd want to get them to do one more quick check over just to, since it's been so long, to just say, hey, you're still good on this, or just because they're gonna have to be the ones who merge it anyway. But I bet the maintainer that I was having to look at this, I'll just ping him again and
Give them a
just
heads
say,
up.
hey, we're good when we're ready to do this.
Cool. I think at the latest, we want to merge that a week before the deadline, which will make it so that it'll go live on .com, a couple business days later. So let's say we merged it, I don't know the calendar for it, but let's say we merged it a week in advance, then, or asked for it to be merged a week in advance, and let's say it happens that day, a couple days later, it gets to production, and then also that change gets into the next, next release for customers that are self-hosted, which gets released, week and a half later. But I definitely don't want to wait to that last week.
All right, so we're talking about the week before the 15th, right?
Yeah, let's
That's
actually
in
talk
3
about
days.
the date. So
That's Friday.
Friday. I'm looking at the calendar too. So 17th.
Sorry, before you make this decision, I think your earlier question needs to be answered about what other items that we had in 13 might Matt delay this launch for. We did have.
In some ways, I think there always might be a reason. We didn't know about this, and we were ready to merge with 1210. So we definitely want to research it, but at the same time, I think there's always going to be a wait, maybe, kind of discussion on something new discovered.
Okay.
But we should definitely let Matt research to decide. It's Matt's decision,
Sure.
of course. But
additional question though, do we know that the database migration ran already? I know that it got approved. I don't know the status of whether we've actually run the jobs.
Been merged. Yeah, it's actually a great question.
So we want to check on that as well. So I think those are the two factors. I wouldn't want to jump the gun, Jonathan, if I were you, and try and merge your feature flag issue too soon. Go ahead.
I'm waiting for the go ahead from Matt. That's when he gives me the go ahead, I'll see if I can get somebody to merge it. So the other thing is this feature is not going away in its current form, correct? So the thing that's not currently implemented in first class vulns, it's still going to exist in another, like on the security dashboards, correct? So
you try your question again. So the feature that we were just discussing, you mean?
The feature we were just discussing, that you assigned to me and Alexander, that's not going away. The current implementation is not going away.
So the implementation that's there today for the findings back dashboard, what do you mean it's not going away? So when we switch over to standalone vulnerabilities, we want to be able to support that same feature set with standalone vulnerabilities. So in that sense, it's not going away.
Right. So even if it wasn't in first class vulns, it's a workaround that they would have to do. They'd have to go through the security dashboards to do it.
There's some confusion there because the security dashboards will be replaced with standalone vulnerabilities, and the functionality that's available to interact with standalone vulnerabilities is all customers will get to interact with after that point. So any of the functionality that's there today with the findings back dashboards, once we flip that feature flag, will either go away
or
all
going away.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of A and B, right? So the dashboards that are there today that are findings back have its own features that are tied to it. We've completely rebuilt them. With B now, the GraphQL standalone vulnerabilities back dashboards. And this is one of the features that's tied to that. And this isn't even on the dashboard, actually. This is on the standalone page, which in the dashboard today, it's a modal, so it's a fuzzy line, but in the future world, it's something that the customer would initiate from the standalone detail page of the vulnerability.
So the security dashboard is going away once we turn on the feature flag?
The existing one will go away, and the new GraphQL version that's backed by standalone vulnerabilities is what they will see.
Okay.
There's right now today, what might be causing some of your confusion, Jonathan, is that there is a security dashboard and a vulnerability list.
Okay.
The vulnerability list is just kind of a temporary placekeeper that will also be going away with 13.0. So the security dashboard will be completely replaced with the new GraphQL version that's backed by standalone vulnerabilities.
Okay, I got you now. I was not clear on that before.
So
Cool, I'm glad we covered it.
So, and I assigned the little task in the Google Doc to Ross. I don't know if he watches those or not, but how about this is, since we'd want to merge at the end of this week to give us a week prior, we don't want to have to invoke the high priority merge request or whatever we're calling it. Absolutely not, because we're ready, and it would be overdoing it for this and other things. So why don't we do a sync call on Friday with Jonathan and Lindsay and I and Matt and maybe Ross too, or basically invite the group, the Defense Stage Calendar, but in particular add Ross as well. Let's just make a call on Friday on where we're at. Does that seem reasonable?
So to be specific, the call is whether we should merge the MR around
ready to merge
the
the MR?
defaulting of the feature flag.
Yeah, which would make it a couple business days later, probably Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday the next week. It'd be live for .com customers. And then it's done long in advance. Well, I don't know, long in advance. It's done definitely in advance of the cutoff for 13.0, where a lot of people are expecting the feature in 13.0. Can you schedule that, Lindsay?
I'm off on Friday, so
I'll schedule. Or Matt, you want it?
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool.
it seems like since Jonathan's working with Alexander to do the research on this one issue, which would be, in addition to the question of the database migration, sort of the decision point, he's going to be kind of talking to himself, but.
Well, definitely want to invite everybody who wants to be there. Let's just also explicitly make it a good time for Matt and Jonathan and Alexander and Ross and I. And then everybody else is definitely more than welcome. And it's Tuesday. We'll probably know by Thursday, but let's make it Friday. Sound like a good plan to everybody? How would folks change it?
Okay, sounds good.
Taking notes here on time. So Can had a question, and Can couldn't make it today. Does somebody want to verbalize the question? And this is a question asked in Slack that they asked twice, I think.
Yeah, I could.
Can's comment, and so I just wanted to add. It was a good time to add it to this discussion, so we could make sure we answered it. So go ahead, whoever had.
I can take this one so he was saying, as far as I understand, first class vulnerabilities. Oh man, Alan, Alan's typing and he's covering up with the text. As far as I understand, first class vulnerabilities is an abstracted version of one or more vulnerability occurrences. If that is the case, why are we adding occurrence data to first class vulnerabilities? I'm just going to stop there because right now it is a one-to-one relationship, and we have discussed this in the past. I've actually addressed it with Can in Slack in the past on that thread that I followed up on. It's a one-to-one link right now. A long-term goal is to have it a one-to-many occurrence. That's something we probably need to plan out on when and how we would want to implement that. But for right now, it's still a one-to-one. I think it's just an understanding of what the.
Okay. Anybody have any other thoughts on that? So thanks, Jonathan. So it looks like it's been answered in the past as well. I don't know if I put that comment in, but that's good to know as well. Could you just copy and paste that into that Slack, the recent Slack conversation?
Sure thing.
So
I will do that.
Ken
and Savas is correcting me. It's pronounced Ken it's not Can, it's John. So gotcha.
You're correcting me too.
Pronounced John.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So what's next here?
I took it upon myself to add a couple of issues for planning breakdown. So Matt, I hope you don't mind. All right. A couple of other things that have come up, and just now that we have the demo dashboards working in production, it's really fun to go out there and play around with them, but it's really come to my attention, and I talked to Andy about this as well, that the infinite scroll is less than ideal, especially with the multi-select of vulnerabilities. It also limits the customer in seeing how many results there are. I think there's some other reasons why the infinite scroll is not something we want to stick with. It was something we moved to as a result of the GraphQL limitations at the time, and Andy was okay with that, but I think we want to, based on our conversations, we want to start looking at a better solution. And you know, I know there's been some conversations in the issues since I put these on the agenda. Aviel brought to our attention some performance guidelines around why we wouldn't want to use the typical number-based pagination that we have on the existing security dashboard today. So I created 2 issues here, and the second one is maybe the one that we should be looking at, because I think that, and Andy, I'm not trying to speak for you or anything, but it sounds like there's still some investigation that needs to go on about what the best design is for what we want this pagination or scrolling to look like. But your temporary issue, that is the second one under number 3 here, would give us some time and maybe improve this customer experience until we get to that point.
I believe it could. Yeah, I think we need to know what the trade-off is between performance and experience when researching pagination. There's a lot of benefits to having numbers in the pagination and being able to link to pages and all that stuff, but there's also the performance drawbacks, and there's going to have to be a balance. Because if it doesn't load, pagination doesn't matter. So for now, I think we can pin the table at least, so allow the list to scroll infinitely, but keep the filters and everything pinned up top so those stay in view. Could be a solution.
And I know this isn't much of a planning breakdown issue because it's relatively small in size. When I originally put it under planning breakdown, it was to talk about the bigger issue around moving away from the infinite scroll. But again, like I said, since I've done that, there's been some realizations that maybe there's some more discussion that should happen there. So if this pinning issue were to make it into 13.1, is there anyone that has questions? So going back to our agenda, what planning breakdown questions we asked? Are the requirements clear? Do we know the boundaries of our work? And is the research, is the solution validation complete? So do we feel that this temporary solution of pinning the items to the top of the dashboard is something that you guys would be confident on the size and pulling it into an iteration and you have all the answers? Basic requirement answers, I mean. I'm just looking for any thumbs down.
Yeah, seems fine.
It's pretty close. This is mostly a front-end issue, so I'm kind of looking at Alexander and Savash. Do you guys have any questions about this temporary one, the second one listed here? No? All right, cool. That was it. And then we'll revisit the pagination question once Andy's had some more time to look into it. That's it. I think that's the end of our agenda. So if anyone has any other items, oh, Matt, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
so
yeah, I saw there was a question about that one. So as far as I'm concerned, it's important but not urgent. I would much rather not just the team but myself have been focused on getting this out the door. So I know we've got company-wide, there are some OKRs around having these, if folks haven't heard about it yet, North Star metrics. It's kind of like the one number you want to track to see the performance of a something. It's usually done at more of like a product level, but we're also rolling it down into the individual group levels. I think there's even a stage level one. So I just need to put in issues to make sure that we've got the right things in place so that the data, the telemetry teams can track that. We've already decided kind of on the product and with the telemetry team that the right thing to track for us right now, since we don't have a lot of pieces, is just number of dashboard views. So we want to see our people interacting with it, and we want to see that go up over time. That'll be across all the dashboards. So I will be working on that for hopefully next week so we can see. And oh yes, Alexander's asking about North Star metrics, and yeah, it's a whole thing that comes from if you're interested, growth hacking, and also Hacking Growth, two confusingly named books, kind of socialize that. But it's generally about trying to take a very data-driven growth approach to product management and development. And so it's just kind of trying to keep you pointed in the right direction by looking at the metric that matters. And these will evolve over time, but there's a lot of holes in the data that we collect and the visibility that we've got both for .com as well as the self-hosted folks through the usage ping. So there's big efforts to clean that all up and make sure that we've got these in place, at least in some minimal amount for all the stages and all the groups.
Sure, Matt, so what have you, and I should probably know this already, but I'll ask you anyways when you talk about it. Singers, what's the primary North Star metric for vulnerability management? Is it people using the vulnerability management features, or have you settled on that, or still thinking about it?
Yeah, so for right now, since it's, what we're trying to do is encourage use of the product overall and then by stage. I'm settling on something that's actually very close to our, don't ask me to say what this is, SMAU. I can never remember what it stands for. I think it's Stage Monthly Active Users. So basically a view of a dashboard, because the dashboards are not necessarily something that you would go to by accident, probably more than once.
And
so
security dashboards in particular.
The security dashboard. So that actually means the project, the group, and the instance level. So it's all three of them aggregated up. So the single number is number of dashboard views. Then you can have sort of supporting metrics, which will be the breakdown of the individual ones. So you can have a little bit more kind of nuanced view of things, but ultimately is we want people to use the dashboards. The dashboards is a pretty good proxy for people actually interacting with the vulnerability management piece of the product. So if we see it kind of going, you know, up and to the right, then we know that usage is increasing. If we see it flattening off or going down, it's just kind of a quick indicator of, are things going the direction that we would hope?
Sounds great. I think we're going to be, based on the number of projects, just on GitLab.com hosted, that use, that do vulnerability detect vulnerabilities in some way, you know, one or more secure features in the secure stage. That went up like 10% from last month to this month. And that's a consistent trend of, I think it's in the order of magnitude, like 1,500 to 1,700 projects, unique projects every month that do some kind of scanning. And they're doing it for a reason, is they want to find the vulnerabilities and then prioritize them and resolve them. Prior to viewing them to prioritize them is in the dashboards. So I think we'll see significant, I think we already have significant usage of the non-standalone vulnerabilities. And when we launch standalone, we're going to see, you know, very high usage of it based on that. We'll see, but it's good stuff. Thanks, Matt. Anybody else have any thoughts or questions for Matt on that? No, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I see Philippe has added a comment in there as well. Philippe, did you want to verbalize that? Oh, he's got lots of noise. So it is a good question. I think I'm going to give it kind of a two-part answer. So number one, the vulnerabilities themselves. Philippe says he's got really noisy kids.
Okay.
They chew
No,
loudly.
but the question was, that wasn't the question though.
No, I know. He's asking if we should track the total number of vulnerabilities, as tracking the views might be tricky. I guess I can't say whether or not views is tricky or not. I would assume that would be sort of a, you know, either we can do it on click of the actual link to the menu or to the dashboard itself, or, you know, page load. But the reason to not track the total vulnerabilities, so that was something that was kind of kicked around. A part of that is the scanner, the individual secure teams are going to be tracking some similar metrics on their side as well. I'm also uncomfortable with that as a metric because I think that may give us a false sense of direction of use and utility of the product. It could mean that we're just seeing more new projects one time. It could mean that people are testing more things with more vulnerabilities. But I think what's more challenging with that one is if we're seeing a consistent uptake in the product usage itself, over time, I would expect vulnerabilities per project to actually go down, as you're not introducing new vulnerabilities as much as that initial scan of a new project. And so I don't think it will be a clear indicator of what direction use of the vulnerability management piece itself is undergoing. That's a really good point about the API though. But I'm willing to kind of discount people interacting with the vulnerabilities and the dashboard, like kind of the backing pieces to the API for the short term. The other thing that's really important to know about the North Star metric is it will evolve over time, and it's not the only data point that we should be capturing. It's just, what is the thing that we should look at right now to see if we're trying to align with the general company direction, which is trying to encourage usage across stages. So these are all things that we can and should look to put the instrumentation in place with the telemetry team over time. But I think for now, we're going to go with this one, and we can see if that's the right metric or not, I think, for us. Actions taken. So Andy, you want to
maybe
vocalize yours?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily a North Star metric, but usage to me could be like maybe vulnerability page load or vulnerability actions taken as well. So like one step further in from the dashboard loads, but it's of how you want to track. I mean, we will become the data we want to track.
Yes, we will. I should point out too, one of the other challenges is we already get a very limited amount of data from our self-hosted customers, which tend to be the bulk of our paid customers. On the ultimate side, which is the data we really care about, we have a lot more limitations right now in what we can actually collect for those that even leave the usage ping on. So my understanding is if it doesn't go into the database and it can't be sent in an anonymized sort of an aggregated count, it's not really something that we're going to get back in the usage ping. So having that granularity of like individual actions taken, that's fantastic. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to dig into that.
Got it.
And Lindsay's giving us a time check.
I really wanted coffee. All right. We do have to hop to the other Zoom for the retrospective because I believe there's some folks that are not on the call right now, and it's a different link, and I don't want to get confusing. So
Great discussion today. Thanks, everybody.